This week we delve back into Earth's Forbidden Secrets with part 5. I know we say part 4 at the start of this one, however, we got our numbers mixed up somewhere along the way. We're recording these in the background, so there's another 2 of these in the bag, so I think we might go back to back with some Earth's Forbidden Secrets to start chewing through this book. I've been really appreciative of the quality of the guests that have come on recently, and I can't express enough appreciation to Laura and Dan and Steve and all the other excellent people we've had on of late. Bodie Sanders is definitely on that list. We know the deal with these ones by now, so we're just going to dive straight back into the book. Look us up, Unlocking the Code, Facebook, Instagram. We're on Patreon, Unlocking the Code. If you want to swing a couple of bucks our way, that'd be awesome. That's it from me. Not too sure on the music again this week. However, enjoy whatever's coming next. Look after yourselves, be kind, be cool, stay safe, be disciplined, and we'll talk soon. Cheers.
Today I sat in a field of paper daisies. The gentle breeze made the world wave to me. The day has come with a gold ring wrapped around it. I think I might just bathe in the sun. And I hope my world don't crash in over me, just like it did yesterday. I'm pretty sure the last mirror that I cracked was more than 7 years ago. And I don't want to wear those bullet holes no more. I want to kill my nightmare. And I've done nothing wrong to anyone. And I just want to be better, better than who I am, better than who I am, better than who I am, better than who I am. Moonlit river flows by gently, like a potion made from the earth. It is healing all of my inner bleeding, even though it's only pictures in my mind. And I hope my world don't crash in over me, just like it did yesterday. I'm pretty sure the last mirror that I cracked was more than 7 years ago. And I don't want to wear these bullet holes no more. I want to kill my nightmare. Don't stick those pins in the dog that looks like me. I'm burning up. 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 I'm burning. Today I sat in a field of paper daisies. The gentle breeze made the world wave to me. The day has come with a gold ring wrapped around it. I think I might just bathe in the sun. I think I might just bathe in the sun. I think I might just bathe in the sun.
Mate, we are back again.
Bonjour, how are you?
Bonjour. Is that French to Ocker Aussie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonjour, how are you?
How are you?
How are ya?
Mate, I'm good. You know why I'm good? Because we're here and we're back and we're digging into
Earth's unknown secrets.
Forbidden Secrets.
Forbidden secrets.
Part Quattro.
Yeah.
Before
Yeah.
we get into that, mate, I don't have much before we start today. Do you want to? Let's just jump into the article.
I can flick us over this article because it's a meaty one.
It is a meaty one. We decided instead of doing 2 articles, we're just going to do 1. And we've got
A couple of boys have liked the article off the page.
Yeah. So the article is, I'll do the first 5, mate. You want to bring us home?
Sure, boy.
10 things the ancients did better than us. And it was up on Unlocking the Code. And Shane, Spencer, Leslie, John R, and John M. But guess
The
what?
two Johns.
Guess what? We are not.
John.
We are not sharing.
Ah.
We are not sharing.
We are not sharing.
Now we are sharing.
Now we are sharing.
Okay. So 10 things the ancients did better than us. And look, the reason obviously I posted to the page is because it's right up our alley.
Of course it is.
And we had a double check of it tonight, and it's quite good. Now, April Holloway.
The grammar didn't look as bad as what some of the other ones
yeah,
were.
last couple that we've done.
And like you say, April Holloway, we actually have an author, whereas the other ones were
anonymous.
Anonymous.
But probably a good thing too. So April, this is on ancientorigins.net. Just a couple of decades ago, the people of ancient civilizations were viewed as simple, primitive people. However, numerous discoveries since then have revealed a number of surprising facts about ancient cultures, namely that many of them possessed an advanced knowledge of metallurgy, mathematics, chemistry, astronomy, and more. With this knowledge, they forged steel stronger than anything else seen until the Industrial Revolution, created a recipe for concrete so durable that the buildings, the buildings would endure for millennia longer than the constructions of today. Cut stones assembled walls so precisely that attempts at modern day replications have failed. Scientists are still scratching their heads over some of the amazing accomplishments of ancient civilizations. Here we feature 10 of them. And look, we just had Stephen on the podcast. Really appreciate him coming on. And obviously he was talking to us about hydro technology. And that's something we've touched on here more than once, where the hydro side of things I definitely think comes into play.
Yeah. And listen to what Stephen had to put down, you know. Some of his theories and ideas were quite good, you know, as in the barge idea, the crane idea. I liked all that. It's just some of the finer details I wanted some more information on, you know, like how do they attach the crane to the stones? How do they get the water up the pyramid? How do they get it to site? Yeah. Because if it's going up locks sort of thing, how are you raising that water? And I think he did come up with maybe the site was like spring fed or something like that,
or a lake was feeding the
site, which spring fed works better for me because like we work off our Great Artesian Basin here in Australia, and in a lot of places it's actually pressurized. I don't know how many head you could get on it, but at least that's going to assist with some of the issues they had.
Pressure issues,
but no, it's interesting, man. And like we said in the conversation prior to hitting record, it's all mirrors on the mirror board.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's just another perspective on this ancient mystery.
Absolutely. And I totally agree. I really appreciated Steve's time, and all the best to him. Aqueducts and hydro technology. Who would have thought that 21st century governments would be looking to a 1,500-year-old technology for guidance on how to solve water access problems? But that is exactly what is happening in Lima, Peru. Peru has been facing severe water crisis as chronic problems such as polluted water supplies and environmental change combine to undermine the water security of the entire country. However, a new plan has been put forward by Lima's water utility company, Sedapal, to revive an ancient network of stone canals that were built by the Wari culture as early as 500 AD in order to supply the population with clean, unpolluted water. The Wari built an advanced water conservation system that captured mountain water during the rainy season via canals. The canals transported the water to places where it could feed into springs further down the mountain in order to maintain the flow of the rivers during the dry season. Isn't that what we just talked about? Many ancient civilizations are known for their advanced construction of cisterns, canals, aqueducts, water channeling technology, including Persians, Nabateans, Romans, Greeks, Harappans, and many more. Yeah, I mean, that's the common theme. I mean, you've only got to look at some of the Roman baths, the Turkish baths, the Grecan baths. Like, that water was fresh all the time. It was heated, it was steamed, and you know what I mean? Like, how do you...
And it was in some places it was using thermals to do that. You know, they place those baths in those certain areas. So there's a lot of working with the earth and what it provided.
What it provided. Yeah. Absolutely. Speaking of what it provided, steel. This is an interesting one. Like, so I think it's one of the reasons the Romans conquered half the world at that time is they found a better way to make steel.
Yeah.
Right. So half the time they're literally fighting battles and they go to clash swords, and the Roman one just slices the other one just
Yeah.
in half.
Yeah.
You know?
Or isn't as brittle.
Yeah.
You know,
Doesn't bend.
flex or does
bend,
flex more
flex,
rather than shatter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over 2,000 years ago, ancient people in the Levant were forging swords made of steel so advanced that blacksmiths would not come close to creating anything of equal quality until modern times. The metal was so strong that the swords could slice straight through objects made of other metals. The steel, known as Damascus steel, was produced out of a raw material known as woot steel from Asia. Good start tonight. Other materials were added during the steel's production to create chemical reactions at the quantum level. It was first used around 300 BC, but was produced en masse in the Middle East between 1100 and 1700 AD. The secret of making the Middle East Damascus steel only re-emerged under the inspection of scanning electron microscopes in modern laboratories. It's true. It's true. But you got to go to the Japanese, the folded steel. Some of the Viking swords that have been found are still sharp. Like some of those axes, when they clean them up, they've still got an edge on them.
I think there was a sword that was found too, a famous one that was like in good repair. Like it was in strangely good fucking condition for its age.
And they couldn't. I saw an axe head that was pretty rough.
Yeah.
And they cleaned it, and yet had some chips out of the head, but it still had an edge on it. Like, they didn't touch it. So, there's. I mean, I don't know. They probably won't get to the glass, but just as another little aside, like the stained glass they find in some of those old churches and all that sort of stuff. Same thing. They still can't replicate some of that stained glass that's in the early Gothic cathedrals.
Yeah.
They don't know how they did it, right? And there's those there's a glass, like a goblet, a Roman one, I think. There's something that's up on the page somewhere. And once you put something in it or you shine light through it, it changes color, and it's like all very finely carved, like microscopic carvings.
Yeah, interesting.
It results it reacts to light and substance.
Okay,
it's weird.
That's interesting.
All right, concrete. Today's concrete structures are typically designed to last between 100 and 120 years. However, the Romans built structures from concrete 2,000 years ago that have maintained their structural integrity to this day. So what was their secret? They knew what was in the mortar at the pyramids is their secret. The Romans made concrete by mixing lime, volcanic rock, and seawater. The combination of the three instantly triggered a chemical reaction in which the lime incorporated molecules into its structure and reacted with the ash to cement the whole mixture together. The ancient seawater concrete contains the ideal crystalline structure of tobermorite, which has a greater strength and durability than the modern equivalent. As well as being more durable, Roman concrete was also more environmentally friendly compared to today's concrete. Conventional modern cement requires heating a mix of limestone and clay to 1450 degrees Celsius, which releases significant amounts of carbon into the atmosphere. In contrast, Roman cement used much less lime, and it made from baking limestone at 900 degrees Celsius, requiring much less fuel. So, just a stupid question, why don't we use that now? You know what I mean? Like,
I'm going to say it probably all leads back to the money.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
It's probably the process we use. Like, we're not buildings aren't made to last that long.
Yeah.
So there's no need to go to that more arduous process, possibly. Like maybe and maybe sourcing those materials is more costly, because I know we use fly ash from like coal-fired power plants and stuff like that to add to our concrete. So that's a byproduct. Right. So you're probably getting that fairly cheap. Now, is that what's
the quantity available to, I suppose? You can't. How much volcanic ash is there, I suppose?
Exactly. How much? Yeah. So we're using fly ash instead of volcanic ash. Yada yada yada. Is the material of the same quality? So yeah, exactly. That's it. It's more about supply and demand, really.
Road building. Yeah, I like this. These days, we'd be lucky to get a decent highway built within a year. But it was not always the way. Ancient people recognized the importance of roads and networks linking together cities and settlements across regions and countries, and they built them fast. Oh, there you go. Try that one. Quapac Nan, known as the main Andean Road, is a huge network of roads once used by the mighty Inca Empire that now extends for more than 30,000 kilometers. It was the backbone of the Incas' political and economic power, connecting production, administrative, and ceremonial centers of pre-Inca Andean culture. The Incas of Cuzco achieved this unique infrastructure on a grand scale in less than a century. I don't think that's true. Extending their vast network across what is now Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. The Romans, too, are known as expert road builders. About 1.7 square miles of its territory was covered by the Roman roads, which were made with gravel, dirt, and bricks made from granite and hard lava. Many ancient roads are still used today. Look, that's true. I don't know that all the roads that are in South America are the Incas are responsible for all those roads. I think there's multiple layers of culture, and I don't know whether April's taking into account the LiDAR stuff.
Yeah.
Where they've found so many more roads now that actually crisscross the continent under the foliage.
That's very true.
And yeah, I don't think they did them in 100 years. I think that was someone built them during a period of time. Yeah.
And yes, there's quite possibly more than one beginning of where that came from. Oh, that's what it is. My mic's going to fall off the table.
Oh, whoa, hang on a minute. Hang on, guys. We're just gonna pause for a second. What was going on?
Yep.
Righto, mate. We are back. Just a little
technical issue. Sorted now.
The microphone was falling off the little table that it's connected to. Let's jump back into the share so we know what we're doing. Last one for me, and you can take over, man. Stone cutting.
Let's run straight back into stone cutting. Around the world, we can find numerous examples of ancient stone cutting so precise that they rival creations of the modern day produced with advanced machinery. One prime example can be found in Pumapunku, an ancient archaeological site in Bolivia. Dated by some historians to 15,000 years old, that contains such incredible stonework that it looks as if the stones were cut using a diamond tool. Enormous blocks weighing up to 800 tons consist of perfectly straight edges that lock perfectly into each other and contain no chisel marks. Attempts to replicate the precision of the stonework have failed.
So again, Pumapunku is a good way to give it an example. However, pick your country as far as megalithic site as to, which way you want to go with it.
Exactly. Yeah. There's multiple across the world.
Agriculture.
human sacrifice is typically the first thing that comes to people's minds when they think of the Aztecs and other Mesoamerican cultures. However, there is much more to these civilizations than this practice. One of their innovations was the Chinampa agricultural system, the so-called floating gardens, which can be found on the shallow lake beds in the Valley of Mexico. A Chinampa plot was constructed by staking out the rectangular enclosure into the marshy lake bed. The enclosure would then be fenced in by joining the stakes with wattle. After that, the fenced-in area would be filled with mud and decaying vegetation. In order to prevent the roots from becoming waterlogged, it was important that the fill brought the Chinampa plot above the lake level. Canals surrounding the Chinampa plots formed an illusion that these agricultural lands were floating on water. Hence, its misattribution as floating gardens. To further stabilize these plots of land, willows were planted around the perimeter. This is due to the dense root system, which over time anchored the retaining walls of the structure and reduced the effects of erosion. In order to ensure that the Chinampas produced good harvests throughout the year, it was vital that the supply of water was well managed. During the rainy season, flooding would have been a problem. Hence, a sophisticated drainage system, which included dams, sluice gates, and canals, were put into place to counter this problem. By using human excrement to fertilize the crops, the Aztecs were also able to create a healthier living environment, as the city's wastewater would have also been treated.
Ah, that's interesting.
The system of agriculture and wastewater treatment seen in the floating gardens in Mexico was so advanced that there have been attempts unsuccessfully to implement it in modern times.
I didn't think about that. That's fascinating. But also, I was trying to remember when you were talking where I heard this. However, I think they believe that most of what we now call the Amazon was planted on purpose.
Yes, the distribution of species within the Amazon, there's high concentrations of food species, as though it's like a planted crop. Yeah. When you do a survey of the species,
they just got out of control.
No one, it was just left unattended.
Yeah, and because it worked, it kept going.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stuff is like large tree stuff, not like small crops. So walls.
I see. I think
it's very Inca.
Yeah, I was going to say she's
Inca centric.
Very South American. Yeah.
The Inca civilization is well known for its advanced masonry work, much of which can still be seen today in Machu Picchu and Sacsayhuaman in Peru.
Sacsayhuaman?
I was thinking about Sacsayhuaman. Their large dry stone walls display huge blocks that have been carefully cut to fit together tightly without mortar and with levels of precision unmatched anywhere else in the Americas. The stones are so closely spaced that a single piece of paper will not fit between many of the stones. This precision, combined with the rounded corners of the blocks, the variety of their interlocking shapes, and the way the walls lean inward to prevent damage in the event of an earthquake, have puzzled scientists for decades. The method used to match precisely the shape of the stone with the adjacent stones is still unknown, and attempts to recreate the technique have all failed.
I think the polygonal masonry, again, as we get further away from, wow, look at the pretty stones, the style of building is built to withstand, as she said there, earthquakes. Right?
Yeah.
It's built to last. It's built to, we're going to put this wall up and it's going to be here forever. Because it still is. However, I wonder was it just aesthetics that made us go with the square block? Or did we lose the ability to even, because again, the other thing I thought about with polygonal masonry a little while ago was, it's not just about cutting and shaping the stone. it's about identifying that stone can be cut in that shape and still retain its integrity.
Yeah, because there's no fractures or seams
That's
or
right.
anything in it.
You've got to be able to read the geological makeup of the stone and understand that it will let you do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's much deeper than the surface.
Yeah.
You know, there's another level of science and technology that needs to be achieved.
I think some level of it could possibly be explained as just production efficiency. So even if we did have the ability to do that, possibly it still took a long time.
It'd take a while
to do. So if you're making identically sized blocks, you progress onto that, right? So you're now cutting rectangular shaped blocks out of stone. And then you go, the next step from that is bricks.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, you know, it's like way quicker than quarrying all this stone.
Yeah.
We get this mud and then we bake it, or we either fire it or we bake it, and we create blocks out of that. And that's even quicker again, because we don't always have access to quarries. Maybe there's better access to clays and stuff closer to where we are. So there is some explanation that could say it was lost because of production efficiencies.
Yeah.
But then you also see the ability to replicate that disappear, you know, when you see the older civilizations compared to the newer ones. So maybe it was a little bit out of necessity, because like whatever knowledge, whatever skills, whatever technology we had that enabled us to do that, something happened. We lost the link. We tried to replicate it and we went, fuck, that's really hard. You know, it's easier. Let's just make rectangles. You know, and because also the business plan of the human species kind of changes. Like you were saying before about maybe possibly smaller population, they thinking of more longevity, you know, whereas this day and age, the larger the population, it feels like we think less and less about longevity, more and more about
production efficiency and cost.
Well, also right now we're thinking about recycling, you know, so we're pulling down those old building materials, crushing them up, and then reusing them as well, as resources become scarcer as we build more shit too. So, you know, we kind of plan that in, that planned obsolescence of materials, so as we can reuse them elsewhere. So
I'll tell you what, one of the perspectives that Steve gave me that I hadn't quite thought about it from that way. Was he's like, you know how we say we don't know how they did it. Well, somebody did. You know, at the time it was known and it was easily done. You know what I mean? For whatever time, whatever reason, you know, within that moment, you could do it with ease. That's how come you can build these magnificent structures. You know,
exactly.
So it is known. We don't know. However, it's not that it can't be known.
Well, also, let's think about it in terms of like a modern story, right? It is known how to make a mobile phone. Can you and I do it?
Yes.
No.
That's right.
You know, so there's multiple fucking thousands of things within our current modern society that are possible, that we recreate all the time, but 90% of the population cannot do it.
No idea. No idea. Speaking about no idea, I don't know how to plan a city, but the ancients did. I mean, this is, you know, you could dedicate some time to this as well. This is another one of those things where you see these, not just, again, looking at the macro instead of the micro, right? You zoom out and you look at the layouts of these cities and how they were designed is pretty impressive.
Definitely.
I think I missed one, so I'll do one and then you do the last two. I think.
You reckon?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. Sharon's Karen.
Book
in.
In the last century, numerous ancient cities have been unearthed that have astounded scientists and urban planners alike. When archaeologists discovered the 5,000-year-old site of Mohenjo-Daro in Pakistan, what they found was unprecedented in the region, and the city demonstrated an exceptional level of civic planning and amenities. The houses were furnished with brick-built bathrooms, and many had toilets. Wastewater from these was led to a well-built brick sewers that ran along the center of the streets, covered with bricks or stone slabs. Cisterns and wells finely constructed. The wedge-shaped bricks held public supplies of drinking water, back in its day, the city would have been home for around 40,000 inhabitants. That's a decent size. In the same era, but on another continent, another great city was being constructed, Corral. Located in the Super Valley, Peru, Corral is a 5,000-year-old city that consists of huge monuments, including pyramids, plazas, amphitheaters, temples, and residential areas. That extensive agriculture, ate a varied diet, developed the use of textiles, used a complex system for calculating and recording, built water supply, and developed an intricate irrigation system. Architects are currently looking to Corral for inspiration in city planning. Japanese architects intend to incorporate building designs that they implemented to protect their people from earthquakes. There you go. The people of Corral suspended their houses in baskets filled with stones that dissipated earth movement and prevented collapse. See, again, obviously South American centric, and I don't know about Corral, if I'm honest.
No, I haven't heard the name before.
No. So, put that one on the list. However, again, the level of technology and then therefore understanding that you must have in order to achieve something like that. I saw city planning from a city in Africa somewhere, maybe Carthage or something like that. It might have been, or it was like the Carthaginians or something like that.
Yeah.
And you look at the Sumerian stuff as well. Like for a long time, a vast percentage of this planet was clearly on another level.
Yep.
Clearly.
Yep.
Like there's no... The fact that people still argue about that is ridiculous in my book. But, ooh, the stars, mate.
Astronomy. From star constellations painted on ancient Greek ceramics to Native American rock art depicting solstices, star charts in ancient Japanese tombs, Australian Aboriginal Dreamtime stories reflecting known astronomical events, and a 10,000-year-old megalithic calendar in Scotland, there is no doubt that ancient civilizations around the world possessed an extraordinary understanding of the cosmos and its movements. But just how they were able to so precisely and accurately record cosmological events without the technology we possess today still eludes scientists in many cases. What is certain is that recent discoveries have revealed just how advanced ancient cultures were when it came to astronomical knowledge, and that they were far from the primitive people they were once thought to be.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think we ended on the Dogon with the last episode.
Where did that info come from?
Yeah.
Like, was it passed down to them? Because the stuff that they're reporting isn't visible to the naked eye.
That's right.
So where is that info coming from?
Yeah. How do you know?
Yeah.
It's like, and we, I think on a material level, the Antikythera device. Remember we looked at that one last time as well.
Mm-hmm.
It was last one before, whatever. And yeah, again, that's fully astronomical, latitude, longitude, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And again, the machine that built that machine had to be more precise than that machine is, and had to have all the data to be able to be inputted into that machine in order for it to work correctly.
Yeah.
So
who built the machine that built the machine?
Exactly. And who recorded the data that built the machine that built the machine,
Exactly. Either someone here with technology to know that information, or someone from somewhere else that brought the technology.
Yeah. Yeah. Righto, mate.
Weapons. Now, number 10, bringing it home. While there is no doubt that modern day weapons are far more superior to their ancient counterparts in their ability to unleash mass death and destruction, there exist a number of powerful ancient weapons that still elude scientists as to their construction and capabilities. Greek mathematician, engineer, inventor, and astronomer Archimedes, from 287 to 212 BC, is reported to have created a heat ray weapon, sometimes called the Death Ray, to defend against ships attacking Syracuse, an historic city in Sicily. According to second-day AD author Lucian, and centuries later Anthemius of Tralles, The weapon was made of large reflectors, possibly made from polished bronze or copper, which were used to focus sunlight onto approaching ships, causing them to catch fire. Although its existence has been hotly debated among historians, a number of tests have been accurately proven that such a weapon is possible. In 1973, the Greek scientists Ioannisakis set up 70 mirrors with a copper coating, which were pointed at a plywood model of a Roman warship. At a distance of 50 meters, when the mirrors were focused accurately, the ship burst into flames within seconds.
There you go.
That would be a cool one. And I mean, we're reflecting light with like panels, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's also the opportunity to use lenses,
convex
as well.
Lenses,
if you can
lenses,
use lenses to help focus as well, now you've got another level.
Practically got a laser beam, really. I mean, a bit of sunlight beam, I suppose you could say.
In a way, it's because it's got it's when you use a magnifying glass to light a fire, it's not a laser because the photons aren't running parallel to each other.
True.
They're still focusing at a point, and that's what causes that intense heat at that point. But something that comes to my mind is the current thermal solar technology that they're putting into power plants.
Yes.
The big round things where the convex mirrors all focus the light into one point, sort of thing. So it's like, that's kind of the same version of that.
I mean, I know something, archery is close to our hearts. I was reading something the other day that the average English, like the longbow in England, could shoot accurately at 300 yards, right? Which is 350 meters or something like that.
Which I read also something recently. May have been,
Probably
we might have had a conversation about it, that the bows were like 200 pounds.
Yes.
Also.
And you could actually, when they dig soldiers up, they know which ones were the archers because
they're actually anatomically
different to be able to hold and control,
to pull back that.
You got your first
poundage.
bow at 6, and that was your job.
And you just kept pulling that bow back.
They just kept giving you bigger and bigger bows until you could launch an arrow 350 meters and hit someone.
Exactly. It's a bit like the Vikings when they look at some of their skeletons, because they rode so much. They have like enlarged tendons just because in certain areas, in certain joints, because of that repetitive movement.
I mean, you think about weapon technology. You can't leave old Genghis off there as well. That was almost a form of compound bow. How they built how the bow went out like that.
Yes,
you know what I mean. It enabled it to be pulled easily, so they could fire.
Because they were firing from horseback, they couldn't use that longbow style to get their leverage. So that's why they had to change that shape, and they used to use animal sinews and stuff like that to mold it, to be able to get that poundage, that power, and quickly out of that bow with a small bow.
I mean, again, what were they? They were shooting. They used to train to shoot when the horse's hooves were all in the air.
Yes,
at the same time.
That's right. Yeah. That's when that's your constant.
That's your constant, right? You wait for that. And it's that. That's when you.
That's
loose.
The pause. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No, 100%. That's that's weird. But they also used to shoot in a different way to like what we do now. If we were to shoot a trad bow, they held their arrows differently. They held their bow differently, and they were more free flowing in their form. Whereas we now are very locked into positions with our feet and our stance and our the way in which we hold our bow, sort of thing. It's all done differently, not so much because the technology has changed, but because they were looking to shoot like as many as possible.
Yeah, I've been trying to think about it. I used to know how many they would be able to loose in a minute or something like this. Because I know the American Indians, same thing. They held their arrows funny as well, and they're basically just bang, bang.
Well,
bang.
A lot of them would hold like 3 arrows
yeah.
in between the fingers.
And
Like
just
this
load
is
one.
the stuff that I've seen
Mm.
sort of done.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. And just load one at a time.
Mm.
Yeah.
It's, again, I suppose we are more for, you know, either hunting or sport with archery. So it's not about we need to get as many arrows in the yellow as soon as we can.
No.
It's about how close can we get it to the center.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I mean, even you think about some of the early cannon technology was quite impressive, how far they could throw projectiles. Even I think what comes to me is the opening scene in Gladiator, right? Where they're fighting the Germans and they've got the fireball catapults and the launching spears.
Yeah.
All of that. I went through.
They call those like scorpions or something.
Scorpions. Yeah.
The big like crossbow.
Yeah.
Mounted.
Just a giant bow and arrow.
Yeah.
With a barbed end on it.
Yeah. They were pretty sick.
And all that. So that opening scene in Gladiator was actually taken out of the Roman writings, right? That was because, I mean, like we said, when we looked at Baalbek, you know, the Romans recorded everything.
Yeah.
So I can't remember who is it Ridley Scott was Gladiator? It doesn't matter, but yeah,
I think it was.
Yeah, I think it was. But that was an accurate depiction of a Caesar's battle, right? Because the historians or the record keepers at the time recorded the formations, recorded the technology. You know, it's like, yeah, on my mark, unleash hell. You know, that's basically what it is. Just load up all these jars full of, you know,
pitch, burning pitch.
Yeah. Yep. You know, 40,000 scorpions and, you know, archers and just, ready. 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
Have at it. You know, like, it's insane. It's
fuck
insane.
yeah.
Well, mate, do you want to jump into the book? So
let's do it.
Let's jump into the book. Thanks to the boys that
that liked that one.
That
was a good it's a good article.
So we left off talking about the Dogons, and again, I think we need to dedicate more time to them at some point. However,
yeah, definitely.
We're going to jump into the giant balls of Costa Rica.
Giant balls. What was that noise, mate?
That was mine.
Little message coming through.
Yeah. Oh, someone's messaging unlocking the code. Thanks, Nathan, for messaging unlocking the code. I'll get
Thank you very much in real time.
Yeah. Thanks, mate.
We've got a Discord happening.
The giant stone balls of Costa Rica. Yet such proof may have already been long ago provided by an amazing discovery in the 1930s by workmen clearing the land for a banana plantation. While burning and hacking away the jungle, the workmen literally stumbled across scores of stone balls that have somehow been shaped and placed into the forest. Many of these balls are perfectly spherical. Excuse me. I had like a little burp hiding in there, and it's like anyway. Sorry, guys. Sorry. No mistakes. Oh, have you speaking of mistakes, have you set the rocket clock, mate?
No, not at all.
Good. That's good.
Thank you for reminding me.
Many of these balls are perfectly spherical and vary greatly in size, ranging from the size of a tennis ball to around 8 feet in diameter and weighing up to 16 tons, and are at great distances from each other with no apparent design to their positioning. These spherical stones are quite obviously not a natural occurrence. Who may have had them and placed them at their locations, or why, remains a complete mystery. Some have theorized that the area was once a huge scale map of the solar system, but unfortunately too many of the stones have now been moved from their original locations to know whether or not this may have been the case. These spheres are also cut to perfection and are incredibly smooth. Cutting a large stone into absolute perfect sphere is an extremely difficult undertaking, and the methods that may have been used to achieve such flawless results is also totally baffling. It's a good picture of the sphere there. I mean, those stones, I think they're found. Yeah, I think that was that Bolivia he was talking about there, or Costa Rica. I know they found some now. Since then, they've found some in Scotland. They've found some in more in South America. I think they've found some Argentina or something like that, somewhere around there. They've found many more of these balls, right?
Yep.
Pane Andoff, he had an excellent podcast with us last year, thinks that they may have been a weapon without throwing. I mean, talk about massive devices, you know what I mean? If you're
trebuchet, throwing
stones. Or gravity devices or something like that, you know what I mean? Like just dropping them from a great height.
Yeah.
But again, you'd probably see damage, I suppose. But yeah, there's it's not just
circle's very strong though. Like that's the whole reason. Like an
Mm.
eggs are round sort of thing is because they get a, I don't know what kind of strength you'd call that, but
Not tensile strength, but
yeah. But
I know what you're
it
talking
basically it spreads the stresses because there's no corners.
Mm.
It spreads the stresses throughout.
Mm.
So yeah,
Yeah, but there is more. There's more of those giant balls that have been found, and no one really knows what they're for.
Hmm.
And again,
interesting.
and we can't date them. You know,
Well, they're stone. You can only
Stone.
date the fucking algae that grows on the outside of them.
the Lanzhou stone. Lanzhou stone. Is it China? Lanzhou stone.
Lanzhou?
Lanzhou. Yeah, probably Zhu.
Zhu being China?
Being China, Lanzhou.
Maybe.
Yeah, let's do that. Lanzhou stone. A
Sounds
truly
better.
amazing object has recently come to light in the form of an uncommon stone with a threaded metal bar inside it that was recently found by Mr. Zilhin Wang in China near to the Mazong Mountain region on the borders of Gansu in the Zhejiang provinces. The mysterious stone is pear-shaped, about 6 by 8 centimeters, and extremely hard and weighs 466 grams. Incredibly, the rock is a type that is totally unknown, suggesting that it may, in fact, be a meteorite. It was not only due to its unknown makeup that the item has attracted enormous attention from many geologists and collectors around the world, but also because the startling artifact
Possibly. I think so.
contains within it. As reported in the Lanzhou Morning News on June 26, 2002. There you go. What do we say back at the start, early 2000s, when he wrote this? So there you go. That's more than 10 geologists and global physicists from the National Land Resources Bureau of Gansu Province, Colored Metal Survey Bureau of Gansu Province, the Institute of Geology and Minerals Research of China Academy Lanzhou branch, and the School of Resources and Environment of Lanzhou College gathered to study the origin of this mysterious stone. Oh, yeah, that one. After a discussion about its possibility of being man-made and the possible reasons for its formation, the scientists unanimously labeled the stone as one of the most valuable in China and the world for collection, research, and archaeological studies. Look at that. Yeah, I've seen that. There's an article about that up on the page.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's that stone with the threaded bar in it.
Yep. That's cool.
During the discussion, the scientists proposed many hypotheses about the formation of this stone, but found all incredible. The screw-threaded metal bar is tightly enclosed in the black lithical material. Neither the bar's entrance to the stone nor the exposed bar tip appear to be man-made. Moreover, the screw-thread width remains consistent from the thick end to the thin end, instead of varying due to the growth of organisms. One of the hypotheses says that this stone could be a relic from prehistoric civilization, since a civilization equivalent to ours is thought to have existed on Earth before our current one. Another theory is that it could be a stony meteorite and could have brought the information of an extraterrestrial civilization. At the end of the conference, all scientists agreed that further research is needed to address questions such as how the stone was formed and whether the metal bar is truly metal before the visitor from outer space mystery can be solved. What this stone and threaded object still remains anybody's guess at the moment, but if it is indeed a meteorite, then it has provided us with unquestionable proof that we are not alone. Interesting.
Yeah, that's... Dude. I'm just about talking to thin air.
Yeah.
No, that's it's a mystery. It's Ooopart. What's a threaded rod doing in there in a piece of stone with unknown origin? You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's like, I feel like all you're ever going to have is hypotheses.
Yeah.
Because it's just too far out of place.
What was those things found in Russia look like little baby springs and that sort of stuff?
Yeah, like that shit. Yeah.
Something's exploded and left we've smashed plenty of electrical devices. I'm sure little springs and stuff went into the dirt.
Exactly. Of all different types of rare earth minerals and shit like that. Yeah.
Well, we're nearly at the end of the second chapter, mate. So I'll do a couple, then you do a couple, and we'll finish it off, eh? The Colorado pavement. Sometimes people really do find things right in their own backyard. In 1936, a man named Tom Kenny was digging a vegetable cellar on his property in the Plateau Valley on the western slopes of the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, when his progress was suddenly halted. His pick struck a slab of stone at a depth of about 10 feet. Further digging revealed a smooth and level pavement made of a 5-inch square, handmade tiles that had been laid with mortar. Analysis of the mortar also revealed a different chemical composition to anything else that can be found locally, further adding to the mystery. Scientists cannot fathom the mystery of the pavement and can only agree that it is between 20,000 and 80,000 years old. The problem again is that the pavement was found at the same geological era as the three-toed Miocene horse, which repeatedly roamed the area for around 6 to 30 million years ago. Oops, the pavement still exists on the Kenny property today. I've seen photos of that Colorado pavement. It's actually very fascinating. And it says the Kentucky pavement. Look, I think there was some stuff going on. I mean, if the Younger Dryas, obviously it did destroy most of America. How advanced were they on the American continent before that happened is an interesting question. The Kentucky pavement. Another discovery similar to the pavement discovered in Tom Kenny's property in Colorado was made by workmen digging at the Blue Springs, Kentucky. At first, the men discovered the bones of a mastodon at a depth of around 12 feet. However, further digging 3 feet deeper, they uncovered a broad stone pavement of totally unknown origin that was constructed of large, neatly cut stone slabs, resembling a road of some kind. Who could have paved a road through the Rocky Mountains so long ago, now that it lies 15 feet below the ground? Again,
that sounds. I think I'm conflating this with another one. I think it was in California where they were building a road, and in the road cut, I think they found mastodon bones.
Yeah,
and the mastodon bones had it looked like human incisions on the bones and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I think just the fact that there was mention of roads and mastodons. I'm like, hang on a minute.
There's all sorts of stuff like that. There's all sorts of stuff like that.
A fruit that shouldn't exist.
You can take that. That sounds like you, mate.
Still you, mate. It's still you. I've just rolled a dart.
Okay. I've included this last little tidbit in the riddles section simply because I think it's interesting and just because it may give you something to think about in your everyday life. Something that is really most strange. Most people are completely unaware of this fact, but there is a fruit that is eaten by millions of people all around the world every day that is quite remarkable and all reality shouldn't exist. Yeah, I'm of course talking about the banana. Bananas are actually the most mysterious fruit in the world because bananas have no seeds, and what makes this even more mysterious is the fact that they are found in almost every country in the world. Now, that may not sound odd at first, but let me fully explain this enigma to you. Firstly, banana plants are not trees. They are actually a perennial herb. The trunk of the plant is really nothing more than the plant's outer leaves. The real stem of the plant doesn't actually become visible until it pushes through out the top of the fruit until it pushes out through the top to produce the large purple flower that will eventually develop into the fruit. Then, having finished its perennial reproductive cycle, the plant dies. The problem here is that with the reproductive cycle of banana, seeds are completely absent from the mature fruit. A new seedling known as a sucker can only ever be generated from a piece of the plant's rootstock, and yet bananas are found in almost every place on Earth, even on quite remote and isolated islands. How in the world did they get there? Did they all get there? The seeds certainly weren't carried across the oceans by prevailing winds. To fully appreciate this anomaly and first consider that the only other seedless plants that exist anywhere in the world are things like seedless grapes, navel oranges, and the many genetically modified varieties of commercial vegetables that can all now be purchased. The point is, any other seedless plants that exist anywhere in the world are all that way because they've been genetically modified. And yet here we are, we have the humble banana, which is the only food in existence that contains exactly the correct requirements of vitamins and minerals for a man's metabolism completely. It's true. It is the only food that man can have live on healthy by itself without complete nutrition. It is found all over the world, and yet we have no knowledge on how it could possibly come into being. It seems that a highly improbable that the worldwide distribution of a seedless fruit that is perfectly tailored for the sustaining man would have just somehow happened. It is extremely unlikely for such a plant to have ever been produced by nature all on its own. Many people believe that somehow, somewhere, sometime, someone in our far distant past genetically engineered bananas into the widely dispersed and remarkably nutritious plant that we find everywhere in such abundance today. These people cite that bananas are living daily proof of an ancient culture that spanned the entire globe in remote prehistory. Botanists also now tentatively agree that the spread of the banana plant appears to have radiated outward from the Pacific region. The banana plant, incidentally, is not a fruit or a vegetable, but it does reach a height of around 30 feet at maturity, which makes it the world's largest herb and the tallest plant in existence, does not have a woody trunk. Yeah, I'd heard about the banana, man. And see, like you have bananas in PNG,
Mm-hmm.
completely different, right?
Yep.
They're a lot smaller. You can eat them when they're green.
Yep.
They sort of taste similar. That they're probably tastier, actually, I would say,
Mm-hmm.
than the mass-produced bananas that we get
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Because again, they grow wild in PNG. They're just trees and
Yeah.
not herbs and herbs of them, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I imagine you're a bit of a plant person. What do you think about the banana?
Well, look, you've got our mass-produced stuff, like you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
So where my mind lays with this is the widespread nature of a herb that shoots suckers is unexplainable in terms of it has to be moved. You have to be breaking off those suckers and literally moving them to different places. You can't eat the fruit and birds shit the seeds out or carry it by wind. Like nothing other than, because you've also got
physically planting variations
and
of it.
you have to look after that sucker. You know what I mean? When you break it off, you have to care for it.
You got to give it some water. It's got
to be able to move it onto this other place. So you would think if there was no human intervention, wherever they originated, they would still be there, and there would be groves, and that's as far as they would extend.
Yeah.
But obviously, a human population once upon a time saw the significance of this plant. Now, do I think this plant was originally genetically modified to be the way it is? No, I think, like you're saying about PNG, I think it was possibly a wild thing that just developed that sort of thing, and it was going to quite possibly just live happily in its own area by itself and just reproduce that way, just these big groves. But we as humans went, hey, we can see the intrinsic value of this fruit. So then we started propagating it and moving it. As it's moved areas, it's changed.
Yeah. Different soil types,
exactly. Different seasons, different temperatures. And we've then also selected different plants that gave us bigger fruit.
Yeah, this is a good one. Let's try and get as many of this.
Exactly.
One as we can.
So we keep that one because the genetics are slightly different. We keep breeding that one up. So over time, there would have been some selection. And this is well before the commercialization.
Yeah.
So the value was there. We went, hey, it's easy. It's abundant. It grows. Hell, what have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I've got 4 bananas there now.
Yeah.
And like I've got probably my biggest one at this point in time is about 5 meters.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 5 meters. So what's that? 15 feet.
Yeah.
And I mean, they grow like fucking weeds, man. They're really
hardy. Is that the word?
No, not only hardy, but for the person growing them, they're very satisfying.
Yeah,
because they just grow. They just go crazy. When you get them in the right spot, they take off. And I'm actually finding now I'm breaking suckers off because they're so abundant.
Yeah, right.
I'm breaking suckers off and just throwing them out because I'm like, I don't need any more. Yeah, because it's going to take up too much space.
Have a banana plantation at the back, mate.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they're very satisfying. They grow very easily when you put them in fertile soil.
But they are everywhere. I suppose the fascinating thing to me, again, thinking about its distribution.
Yeah.
Like, how did they get everywhere?
I remember prior to knowing anything along the lines of this theory, I remember asking people, where did bananas originate from? And just as a general topic, no one can ever fucking answer you.
Yeah,
no one actually knows.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a really weird one.
It is. I'll tell you what. We're at the end, mate. I'll finish it off, and then we'll
bring it home, big fella.
Let's have a look. Loose ends. The amount of objects similar to the ones we have just discussed that have actually been found on our planet is staggering and continually growing. I think I saw a number 75,000, something like that, pieces of Ooopart. I mean, coincidi. When are we going to get to coincidi? You know what I mean? How many Ooparts do you need? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As you can see, with many of these artifacts, are absolutely unexplainable and absolutely do not fit in any way with our currently accepted framework of history at all. In fact, many of them go so far as to disprove our current theories on the past completely. How is it that a scholar can ask us to accept the theories they have offered us as fact, yet in order for us to do so, they ask that we ignore the abundant physical evidence that is right before our eyes? Could it be because the hard evidence completely undermines the very theory that they are asking us to believe?
I think that's exactly it.
Exactly it. There are many other strange and out of place artifacts, ooparts, that have, I don't know why I call it oopsart.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah.
I think it
Ooparts.
just rolls out of the mouth better.
Yeah. That have been found that are not included in this list, and many unconfirmed stories of others. For the purpose of this work, I prefer to deal with only anomalies that I've been able to substantially confirm. There are many other reports, although perhaps not quite as compelling because many could have either been forged or misinterpreted. Something interesting to say the least. A gold thread, I've heard this one, a gold thread stuck in rock. In 1844, the London Times reported that workmen quarrying stone near River Tweed in Scotland unearthed a piece of gold thread embedded in the rock 8 feet below ground level. A much too old screw. A 2-inch metal screw was apparently discovered in a piece of feldspar unearthed in 1865 from the Abbey Mine in Treasure City, Nevada. The screw had long since oxidized and disappeared, but the impression of its form, particularly the slotted head shape of the thread, could still be clearly seen within the feldspar. The piece of feldspar that contained the screw had been calculated to be around 21 million years in age. In 1851, and as reported in the Illinois Springfield Republican, a man named Hiram DeWitt had found a fist-sized chunk of auriferous quartz while on a trip to California. When DeWitt accidentally dropped the rock and it cracked apart, a cut iron nail was found inside. The quartz was about 1 million years old. Bones found in rock. A man by the name of Ed Conrad reportedly discovered some impossibly old human bones trapped in rock in Pennsylvania. The remains had been fossilized and were trapped within solid shale. The bones appear to be human, but the rock they were found in was between 280 and 300 million years old. There's that number again. Grand Canyon mummies. Oh, man, I think the more I see about the Grand Canyon and that sort of Colorado, all that area, Death Valley, all around there was something there, man.
Mm-hmm.
There was something there. There's too much stuff that this good
Smithsonian.
Yeah, good England tonight, mate. The Smithsonian has been no, we didn't see that.
Yes.
You know, like there's too many coincidences.
Yes.
Too many coincidences. In 1931, Dr. F. Bruce Russell said I'd bring it home. I didn't stumble in it.
Stumbling home.
Stumbling
it's like
home.
a big night out.
Yeah, is reported to have found strange underground tunnels in the Death Valley area of the canyon. Russell claimed to have discovered winding tunnels containing artifacts that appeared to be of a combination of Egyptian and American Indian cultures. He said that he had found mummified remains that were over 8 feet tall at the site. Russell returned with a group of men but was unable to locate the entrance again. No one has ever since rediscovered the mysterious tunnels Russell claims to have found. Don't think that's true. Strange skeletons. In 1888, 7 skeletons were reportedly found in a burial mound just outside Clearwater, Minnesota. All the skeletons were anatomically correct except for the skulls, which had double rows of teeth both in the upper and lower jaws. The foreheads were also unusually low and sloping with prominent brows. All had been buried in a sitting position facing the lake. I haven't heard of those ones.
Wonder if they had red hair.
Yeah, red hair. Yeah.
6 fingers.
Yeah. Our Hybrids is on the list to talk to about Bob, by the way, because he's currently got 8-9 days left as we record this of his last big trip to all the sites in South America.
Yep.
So yeah, he's coming on in the next little while.
Okay.
And we've got a long list. We're probably going to do 2 or 3 episodes, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm going to set it up with him, and we're going to over a few weeks.
And punch into a few subjects per episode.
Yeah. Because he's sort of culminating 20 plus years of research.
Awesome.
And he's relaunching his show.
Yeah.
And what he wanted to do and what we're sort of deciding to do is I'm going to help him do that. Right. So I'm going to interview him and we're going to sort of swap cast them as some of his initial content for his.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
But yeah, the red hair Paracas hybrids they're on the list, man.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but giants.
Yeah, giants as well.
Yeah, because mound building, sloping forehead,
yeah,
double row of teeth, red-haired, six-fingered giants.
8 feet tall.
8 feet tall.
Yeah. The Salzburg Cube. In 1885, a strange steel cube was found embedded inside a block of coal. The edges were sharp and straight, and later tests confirmed that the object most definitely to be artificially manufactured. The device showed every sign of being machine-made and appeared to even possibly be a small part of a much larger instrument. We have no real idea how many other enigmatic heart attacks, and items of tremendous significance have simply been labelled error and tucked away in a basement drawer in a museum somewhere, never to see the light of day. And that's the thing. We must then pause to question how such a thing could ever be allowed to happen. Just one of these anomalies should give one reason to pause. But when the sheer volume and unpublicized nature of them becomes apparent, it gives cause for alarm. And there are dozens and dozens of such anomalies that can be found all over the world. I could fill an entire volume of such finds and have merely scratched the surface with this list. There are certainly enough of them to challenge the disciplines of traditional science. Because they don't fit with the conventional theories and in some instances may even disprove them, these anomalies and exceptions to the academic rule are almost always rejected out of hand. Such an attitude can only be described as most unscientific mindset. If theories are never to be challenged, if no one in science is ever willing to be proved wrong, if mankind ever becomes egotistical enough to claim that now we already know all there is to know and have discovered all there is to discover, then sadly we have no science, no future, and have lost sight of ourselves. Well, yeah, Max.
We may have reached that point.
Yeah. Anyway, we've definitely lost sight of ourselves, man. Definitely. And with a B-2 bomber traversing the sky this afternoon, the future is looking rosy. The real point here is that these artifacts cannot simply be dismissed as curios and thrown by the wayside because they don't fit within the academic framework of history. They exist. That is simple fact. So if accepting the fact that these artifacts actually exist is contrary to our own current idea of history, then what are we to do? They exist. And when all said is done, it's as simple as that. And it really is. Our view of history is quite obviously wrong, and instead of perpetuating an idea we know to be totally erroneous, we should be attempting to discover the real truths. Isn't that what intelligent and rational people are supposed to do? Well, isn't that how mankind should progress towards the future? I hope so, man. However, you are in Mexico, so it is pretty obvious just by these artifacts alone that there is definitely something going on here that we're not being told about. When one considers the significance of these artifacts, the implications to disprove what we know as history, and the unwillingness of academia to present them for scrutiny, or in many cases even acknowledge their existence, is conspiracy a too strong a word? Not being able to thus rely on our numerous and trusted institutions to keep us informed, we are therefore forced to seek out the truth in these matters for ourselves. Hold on, folks, because when you attempt to investigate the true nature of these artifacts, as many others have attempted to do so before us, it can seem for a while that the going just gets weirder.
Never a truer word spoken, Max.
Yeah, mate. We're about to turn 5, by the way.
Getting older.
Yeah. And it does just get weirder. And when
it's I just have one, I guess, if I could play devil's advocate just for a moment.
Sure.
Exactly. I agree with everything that Max has just said. But if you could also, if you look at it from a different perspective, possibly even in a scientific manner, okay? Ooparts, yes, they exist, but most of the time, a lot of the stuff is dated to be of a time where it's so far back in history. A lot of it like 300 million years ago, right?
Yeah.
It predates the end of like the dinosaurs sort of thing. So as the stretch of time gets longer and longer,
Yeah.
I guess what I'm trying to say is the evidence around. So if we were to do an archaeological dig, we find multiple points of reference within that dig. You might find some evidence of a fire. You might find some bones. You might find some tools.
Yeah.
So you can find multiple things in one area.
Yeah.
These things are usually standalone by themselves. So that's what just makes them so
there's no grouping.
so inexplicable. So when Max talks about like why are they excluded, it's because it's possibly it was never intentional to so much exclude them, and maybe to begin with they were like, there's only going to be a few of these, you know. But like we say, now that it's building up to more and more and more, it's obvious that there was something back there. But like, it's like it's just so hard because the span of time is so long, and the pieces of evidence are so far spread apart. They don't relate to each other. There's some gold. There's the odd screw. You know, it's like, there's possible evidence of something technological, but will you ever be able to describe it?
And the thing is, if you're trying to construct a cohesive theory, and you take these anomalous things into account, they are so anomalous, and they fuck with your theory so much that
of course you're going to exclude them because they are a thing on their own. You can't because their dates are so far out. They don't fit with any. Who the fuck has a theory for 300 million years ago?
That's right.
You know what I mean?
300 million years ago.
Who has that?
Who
No
has
one.
it?
No one.
Yeah.
The only theory is that possibly someone come from somewhere else. You know what I mean? Like it was like us doing a Mars expedition.
But is it a scope of understanding as well? Because if we look, the one thought and process that I can't get out of my head is how we date things. And does stuff get accelerated through catastrophe and heat and movement and blah blah blah, whatever it is, right?
Are we wrong about like the forming of coal?
Yes.
Like the process.
Yes.
So maybe typically there may be a procedure that does take X amount of years and Y amount of pressure and Z amount of heat.
Yes.
But if you increase the heat and increase the pressure, do the years go down?
Yeah, do they accelerate?
You know what I'm saying? So like under catastrophic circumstances, can you create stuff that seems to be 300 million years old in 12,000 years or 20,000 years?
Yeah. Or 100, whatever it is.
Or 100,000 years or 70,000 years.
And so if we accept on the face of it that the Earth is 4.5 billion years old or whatever it is, right? That 300 million is only 10% of the Earth's life ago as well.
Exactly.
So is it a scope problem as well? Is it we don't have the brain power
100% it is.
Actually grasp that potentially 300 million years ago there was something going on here?
Yeah. Like, well, we have the ability when we're able to find like organic imprints of things. Right? We're happy to accept creatures.
Yes.
And sort of plan those out, but we're not happy to accept anything technological.
No, that's right. Yeah. Anything to do with it.
Because I mean, we can't agree over stuff that happened possibly fucking 8, 9, 10,000 years ago.
Right, yeah.
We can't agree over that. There's argument and contention over that.
That's true.
So it's like, how the hell are we going to agree on anything that is 300 million years old?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Yes. There's never going to be enough evidence that any one theory could prevail because it's like, it's just too far.
And it's just too much.
Yeah.
And I think there is it's something we've discussed here a lot, is that there's a certain level of hubris that the modern man has where we have to, no, it is what it is, mate. You know?
Yeah.
So don't trust the science, man.
Yeah.
You know? When you question science, you question and, you know, right?
Well, let's look at like the part of the things that we do well, that like are agreed upon about 300 million years ago,
Yeah.
right? We can study like atmospheric conditions,
Yep.
sort of thing, because
volcanic activity,
organic life, because like digging up a archaeological dig from 12,000 years ago, with organic life, with the way it's structured, like if you're looking at whatever creatures were there 300 million years ago, the way they're assorted in that layer of rock, you know, the different fossilized things, you can try to put together an understanding. But then in amongst that, if you throw a fucking steel cube,
that's right.
It's like, how do we explain that? There's no, like, I can look at this society of creatures, and I can kind of work out.
Here's your arthropods and
carnivores,
sort of
herbivores, you know, due to concentrations and forms and stuff that you can see.
Yeah.
But you throw an anomalous fucking steel sphere in there that is perfectly fucking symmetrical, and it's like, how do we explain that? I can't. So in science's defense, I guess, I don't know if there's maybe at some point it was purposely excluded, but to begin with, you just exclude the things you can't explain. You can't create a theory when you can't explain what that is. But you can talk about the other stuff that you can kind of explain, that you can. You
can see some
you can
sort
put
of
theories
timeline.
to. Exactly. So that's, you know, I'm just sort of saying in terms of like, sometimes it's pointed at that it's unscientific, and it's like, maybe it's not so much unscientific, it's just maybe it is scientific.
What do you do with it?
The fact that we can fucking measure this, we can study that, we can look at that under a microscope, and we can understand how these things correlate together. But then that doesn't correlate, and it's not that I don't want to talk about it, it's just that it makes no sense to be there, so I don't know what it is.
And I think there's also probably a bit of as you say, confusion, like, what is this and what is it doing here? And
well, as a scientist, I don't want to present that either, because now I'm fallible. It's like, I can talk in length about all of this, but then there's this here that if I present that, I'm like, I don't know.
But see, I wonder because we talked about where they dug up the Clovis tips, that they've dug deeper and they've found more stuff.
Yes.
So it's like we've said earlier, good spot's a good spot.
Good spot's good spot.
Right. So, you know, you could advance archaeology by digging deeper at the good spots. You know, has anyone dug beside the walls at Baalbek? You know, stuff like that. You know, what are we actually doing here? Good spot's a good spot. You know, maybe that would provide some answers. But I do think, you know, the curse of the modern man is the narrative, isn't it? Right? It's the narrative that has been carefully constructed and controlled for the last, or basically since the Industrial Revolution. You know, I think that there's been a narrative, you know, Darwin and all these sorts of things. There's been a story about us, about our history, about what it is, you know, and that is, if you know, if we were to drop everything now and go back to university and learn history, that is what we would be told. Right. Whereas here at UTC and, you know, many other thousands of researchers across the globe are quite seriously going, well, hang on a minute, no, that's not true. Parts of it are true.
You're excluding this evidence that could possibly, as we're advancing, we started excluding it back in Victorian times. But as our technology is advancing,
and we can see this,
we can actually start to correlate some of these things together now. So maybe it's time to stop excluding the 75,000 different bits of Ooopart and start to group them and look at them together.
Where are the similarities? You know, you said, like you said before, lack of grouping. Okay, we've got that many now. Let's put all the screws together.
Go back. Let's start.
Let's put all the screws together. Let's put all the springs together.
Are the screws, you know, all cut with a similar thread? Are the threads the same
the
size?
Thread pitch is the same.
Exactly. All that kind of shit. We could start to correlate some of that information.
That's interesting. Man. Well, mate, I don't know. Do you want to?
That's us. What?
Do you want to tie that up?
That's tied up. Yeah, definitely.
So we'll
start next time on chapter 3. Of Lost Explorers. Dude, I was reading that.
Oh, you were reading that. Sorry.
And Ancient Mysteries.
So look, I thoroughly enjoyed that through the Ooopart, I think really blew my mind. I think, the whole dating research question that we have cultivated, that I sort of started throwing around, that we're going to probably keep digging into, the catastrophe, and accelerates it. I know Bob found it interesting. Do you know who I'd love to throw it at? I'd love to throw it at Randall.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I'd love to throw it at Randall and see whether or
his
not
thoughts on the
whether or
whole
not
matter.
whether or not he would actually come at it. Yeah, this is awesome, man. That's the end of part quattro. Yeah, see you again next time, man. Awesome.
Peace out.
Thanks, dude.
Catch you later. Cheers, man.
Just want to go again?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Go again.
All right. I know you been here before. No surprises, settle the score. I know the darkness deep inside, reckless rage, poison pride. I know the anger, I know the pain, and I know the fear we do not name. And the one who comes to find me when my time is through, I know you, I know you. Wow. I know you. Better.